Hello everyone, another In the Studio coming at you. Today the topic is sub-bass. So it's good practice to split your basses into multiple frequency bands. For instance, you might want a top bass and a sub-bass. The top bass is going to be where you'll add spatial and creative effects like reverb, delay, chorus, distortion, so on and so forth. That's the bass that you're going to hear. The sub-bass you're going to fill, and the sub bass is just there to fill out the low end, give the track weight and body, and splitting them up into multiple frequency bands is going to give you much more control and flexibility in the mix down. And you just simply don't want reverbs and delays and things like that on your sub bass. You want to keep that nice and clean. So a while back I did a video on sub-bass do's and don'ts and things that you might want to consider when you're working with sub-bass. So I'll put that up there for you if you want to check out that video. But in this video we're going to make a sub-bass from scratch. I'm going to design one in Massive, and I thought I'd show you how I would do it. So I made this little backbeat here to work to. So let's hear that really quick. Okay, just so we have some context, and let's pull up Massive and let's get this started. So I'm going to mute everything else except for Massive, and I just put down a little simple pattern here for our sub bass, and we're at a default patch. So cool. So first thing, I want to just use a sine wave. So let's select a sine wave wavetable. So I'm going to go for the sine square. It doesn't really matter as long as you have a sine wave. And I'm going to push this all the way over to the left position, which is our sine wave. Okay. And I think we need to go down an octave, so that's better. And then you can hear those nasty clicks and pops. We need to get rid of those, so we'll do that with the amplitude envelope here, which is envelope 4 in Massive. So I'm just going to have a little play around here with the attack and the release. Let's just turn this up a little bit. Turn this up a little bit more while we're working on it. Now, you want to make sure that you don't go too far with the attack and release. I mean, if you go too far with the attack, you're just going to lose the sound completely. And if you go too short, obviously you're going to get those nasty clicks. So you just want to find a happy medium. And with the release, if you go too far, you're going to get this nasty, just droning mush. So I think that's about good for now. And then another thing that you can maybe consider doing is maybe mixing in another oscillator to give you yourselves, or to give you a little bit more harmonics, so your sub bass translates to smaller playback systems that can't reproduce those low frequencies like earbuds or laptop speakers or whatever. So you could mix in another oscillator. So you might try a triangle wave. Let's hear that. And that's too much there, so I might just move the wavetable position further to the left so we get mostly a sine wave with a little bit of the triangles harmonics. I mean, I could show you in the analyzer. So you can see that we just have our sine wave fundamental, is one fundamental frequency, and then when we mix in this triangle wave, you can see those other harmonics coming through, and that's going to allow your sub bass to translate to smaller playback systems. But I would go subtle on this personally. And you don't have to use a triangle wave. You can maybe try a square wave. I think this smooth square might be nice. Let's try it. That's a little bit buzzy for me. I'd probably go with a triangle, or you could use a distorted sine wave. So that is an option for you. In this case, I'm going to pull the amp all the way down and just use the single oscillator here. I'm going to head over to the voicing tab, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure the unisono is on 1, and I'm going to turn this to monophonic here. Another thing that you can maybe try is adding some glide. So this isn't going to do any good right now because I only have one note playing, so I'm going to just pop in another note here. Maybe I'll put a G note right there so I can show you. And let's turn up the octave by a few here. So the glide can be nice if you want just kind of a smoother kind of rolling sound in between different notes. You can apply a little bit of glide and that can sound really nice. But it's really hard to hear that when the pitch is down low, so that's why I turned it up. Let's just turn this back down. Okay. And then what we can also do, there's a couple things that you can maybe try to just beef up this sub bass a little bit. You could try some feedback here, which gives that sub bass a little bit more attitude. Or we can also try the parabolic shaper, which is quite nice actually. And you could maybe try one of these effects rather than mixing in another oscillator. Pretty much has the same effect, more or less. Let's try a little bit of the parabolic shaper. Or you can maybe try the classic tube here. Yeah, that works too. Cool. And if you are using two oscillators, maybe you can also try engaging this restart via gate, which simply just locks the oscillator's phase so you get a consistent sound each time. I'm only using one oscillator here, so I don't think that's necessary, but it's something that maybe you can try on a sub bass if you are using a little bit of a triangle wave, for example. So let's hear this with the kick and the atmosphere here. Turn this down a little bit. Nice. And needs a little bit of side chaining. We do have some notes playing together with the kick, so let's add some side chaining here. Cool. And let's bring in the hats. And there you go. Cool. Yeah, I think that's working nicely. there you go, sub bass. Filling out the low end, I think that's working and grooving nicely with the drums there. I mean, and it's a really simple patch. There's not much to it. It's just, you know, there to rock people's socks off in the club and give your track, that nice low end body. So that's going to be it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this patch as a preset for those massive users out there. And if you don't want to recreate it yourself, then you can download it for free in the description below. So that is it for today, everyone. Hopefully you found that useful. Leave me a comment or question. And as always, I'll see you very soon. Take care.